Nate Vance, cousin of Vice President James David Vance, who volunteered in Ukraine, criticized the Trump administration for acting as useful idiots for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Nate Vance reportedly spent 3 years fighting in Ukraine following Russia's full-scale invasion in February 2022. In an interview with French outlet Le Figaro, Nate Vance accused his cousin and former President Donald Trump of ambushing Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during a now infamous Oval Office meeting. During the encounter, the vice president harshly criticized Zelensky in front of television cameras, calling him ungrateful and disrespectful. Nate Vance described the vice president as intelligent and a good guy, but accused him of playing politics regarding aid to Ukraine. The vice president has long been critical of U.S. aid to Ukraine, even during his brief tenure as an Ohio senator. When he criticized aid to Ukraine, I thought it was because he needed to please a certain electorate. It was the game of politics, Nate Vance told Le Figaro. But what they did to Zelensky was an ambush of absolute bad faith. Donald Trump and my cousin clearly believe they can placate Vladimir Putin, he added. They are wrong. The Russians will not forget our support for Ukraine. We are Vladimir Putin's useful idiots. He expressed disappointment over the Oval Office confrontation. I was disappointed when James David justified his distrust of Zelensky by citing reports he had seen. I thought I was going to choke, said Nate Vance. His own cousin was on the front lines. I could have told him the truth, without pretense or personal interest. He never tried to find out more. Nate Vance mentioned leaving messages with the vice president's office, but has not received a response. He returned to the U.S. in January, shortly before his cousin and Trump took office, noting that he couldn't risk being captured. The Texan and former U.S. Marine volunteered for the Da Vinci Wolves, 1st Motorized Battalion, from 2022 until January. Vance and the vice president share grandparents and have vacationed together. Being your family doesn't mean I'll accept you harming my comrades, he told the French paper. The Trump administration has started dialogues with Russia, despite its invasion violating international law, according to United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Trump stated on Friday that he's doing very well with Russia and finds it more difficult to deal with Ukraine. The former president falsely accused Zelensky of being a dictator and inaccurately claimed that Zelensky has little support among his countrymen. Meanwhile, the Kremlin appears pleased with the recent shift in U.S. policy on the war in Ukraine. Trump's statements have been celebrated on Russian state media, where Kremlin-loyal pundits have welcomed the change in American policy toward the war in Ukraine.